Hey, welcome to Partnerships for Profit presented by LeDuc Entertainment. Normally there's an intro there, and I'm not quite sure why it didn't do the intro. It just said, "We are live." Did you see that? I am not sure why the intro was not connected. My apologies. But today we are joined by Kyle Mealy, who is the CEO of Next Level Revenue. Is that right, Kyle?
That's correct.
And Kyle, could you tell me a little bit about yourself and tell me a little bit about Next Level Revenue?
Oh, sure. Yes. I'm kind of an accidental entrepreneur. I was not raised to be one. I was raised to get a job and stick in that job for 30 years, and something changed. I had to do something different. And so about a little over a year and a half ago now, I started Next Level Revenue.
And can you tell me kind of what inspired that? And can you tell me a little bit about the people that Next Level Revenue helps? What are some of the problems that people are facing when they come to you?
Sure. I'll kind of go backwards a little bit to get there.
Sure.
But what we do is we're fractional chief revenue officers. And so I have a very different take on revenue in 2024, soon to be 2025, and a very different take on marketing and sales. I don't think they're separate functions. I think they're actually one department and one need to be guided by one revenue model and attribution program. And so that's what I built. Now, how I got there, I actually started in a lab and really understood data, really understood analytics, and being kind of obsessive about the process. And so I carried that knowledge to my first entrepreneurial business that I started to help. I kind of came in as the number two in command, the second in command there. There was no process. There was no marketing and sales. It was just kind of the owner trying to figure it all out himself. And we grew that from, there were three of us full time, the owner, myself, and one other person, to a team of 27, well over $1 million in revenue. It was nothing near that when I started. He was working 60 hours a week, making 60K, and he was working 6 hours a week, making many multiple six digits by the end. And I fell in love with small business owners because they took the risk. They had this spirit about them where they were going to just figure it out. And so I kind of learned how to just figure things out. And I had figured out some things at this business. And the goal for him was to just basically hand it over to me and retire in 10 years. And I couldn't do that because he was kind of reaching his ceiling of growth and his appetite for growth. I wasn't done. So I went and took, a sales and marketing seat for a small digital marketing agency that had been stuck at about 3 million. And I just applied what I'd learned, this scrappy entrepreneurial, obsessive about data and process. And we went from 3 million to 7.5 million in about 2.5 years.
Wow.
It was pretty wild. So I got this, basically a master's degree in digital marketing and I understand, complex sales processes, but I saw that the game was inherently broken. A lot of people are still thinking about marketing as marketing and sales as sales. And I even saw it in the agency I was working with. It was just the tactics were confused with strategy, metrics were not measured, and there wasn't this really good handshake between marketing and sales. And so I said, well, I'm going to go fix that, because there needs to be a leader who isn't the owner of the company who can actually solve that problem and make sure that all the marketing turns into dollars and actually do that. So I built some IP, and it's been quite a ride since then.
Wow. So let me ask, so when you're building out these sort of strategies for growth for businesses, right? Is that something is that a one size fits all strategy that you're using, or is that a custom thing to the business? How does the strategy build out work?
I look at it this way. I really look at our process as a little bit more meta, because I think the trap, I'm thinking of poor Admiral Akbar screaming, "It's a trap." For small business owners who are looking for that strategy, that what's the one thing to do? And it's like, no. Stop thinking about strategy first. You have to put a methodology in front of it. Then the strategy becomes clear. And then the tactics, what you do in the tactics become clear. And so our methodology is really based around three core pieces, dare I say pillars, that hold up the whole thing. We have ROAS. It's a bit cheeky, so I'll explain that if you want me to. We have revenue cascade, and then we have revenue strategy statement. Those three pieces form the structure upon which we then determine the strategy. So when you ask, is it one size fits all? Yes. anybody in our, and again, here's the second secret part, this is the meta part, who fits our exact target market profile. Like, you need to be B2B, you need to be between 1 and 15 million, owner led, maybe a salesperson, disjointed marketing and sales, you're not measuring your data, high ticket sale, monthly recurring revenue. Yes, I spit all those out, but if you have those, then the methodology, the 3 core pillars, will work perfectly for you. Now, once you put the pieces in place, the strategy becomes custom because it's based on your reality. It's based on your opinion that you're trying to bring to the marketplace. So does everybody get the same thing? Yes, they get the same core methodology, but that's when we really have fun. That's when you get the clever and that's the part that CEOs tell other CEOs, well, we tried this really cool thing, and it only usually works if you're lucky or you have a methodology like this.
And so when you're focusing, I guess, what are and I mean, I guess this is going back into those three tactics a little bit. I'd love to dive deeper into that. Like,
sure.
What are those methodologies that you're focusing on? Like, can you explain those a little bit more?
Well, they're always traced back to the 3 questions that, small business owners actually care about. What's the ROI?
Right.
What's working and what's not? And then what do we, we're live, so I'll pull that one back. What do we say? Like, what do we say? Because a lot of people don't know what to say, right? They have if your social posts usually are jargon or technically dense, or it's happy birthday so-and-so, you're not really having a social media strategy.
Right.
If you're just measuring how many people hit your website, how many leads, and how many closed deals, you're not really measuring. And if your ROI is coming from an agency that's running your PPC, you're not really measuring ROI. And so that's where the methodology starts, is it truly for small business. And 2025, I'm going to start using that now. I've switched. Today's the day I switch. You have to measure ROAS. And this is different than ROAS, which is the marketing metric. Can't just measure marketing because there's a sales process. So you need to combine those. That's ROAS. And then revenue cascade is like an MRI. It slices through your marketing funnel and your sales pipeline, looking for blockages, like maybe this is too on the nose, but tumors, things that are malignant in your processes. And then revenue strategy statement like coalesces those thoughts, those things that the visionary delivers in the sales room that is never put out in public, but actually is what kind of, unlocks the brain to think about, your business and the way you want your buyers to think about it.
So a question I have, I guess, would be, what are some of the common roadblocks for growth that you're seeing these businesses encounter? What are some of the main problems that they're running into that are halting their growth? And I guess even furthermore, what does it look like if they don't come to you and don't come to Next Level Revenue to have these problems solved and just keep on carrying on the way they've always carried on,
Yeah, I'll start with the second question. It's stagnation. Like, and I'll rip from this concept of grow or die. I'm sorry, but in B2B and in business, you got to grow or you will die. You'll get commoditized or left out, and then all the work you've done for your people, all the work you've done for yourself, for your family, it's going to get washed away. It's why I left the business, the entrepreneurial business I kind of went to after working in the lab, was we had plateaued. We did not want to grow anymore. And it's like, okay, well, at some point we're going to have to like go do a ton of work to undo our stagnation. And I don't want to be along for that ride, sitting flat. So generally, they're looking at the end of the year and their revenue numbers are flat. They're, worried about cash flow next month. They're trying to determine if this marketing agency is good or bad. They're trying to determine if the salesperson sucks. And so we usually get called in when they believe sales guys suck, and they've been using the old strategy of give them a laptop and say, go get them, Tiger. And they're saying, go send more messages on this thing. And at the exact same time, while they're in the meeting with the sales guy, they're, clicking do not disturb, or they're ignoring their LinkedIn spam messages like all of us do. So they're telling their sales guys go do this tactic, and then they're not using it themselves, or they're not, being hooked into it themselves. So I think it's when they realize that the traditional marketing and sales methods are dead.
Right.
And they can't put a name on it. That's when you call us.
Right. Well, and it sounds like you've helped lot of people, a lot of businesses. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about just for a little bit is you're not stingy with this information. You're not hoarding this information. In fact, you host like webinars and workshops. Is that correct?
I think there's probably two things that we're circling on. One, yes, I've got the book coming, and I'm going to get like pretty much everything I just explained, and like how we do it is going to be given away for sure.
Wow.
The second piece is, and I think it's where it's the second gear group is starting to come into our conversation. So I'm glad it's
Yes.
so the second gear group is this belief. It's a nonprofit that helps nonprofits and gives them access to business information they wouldn't normally A, be able to afford, or B, run into, because there's the nonprofit owners that I talk to, and my wife is one of them. She's kind of my avatar for Second Gear Group. They're so focused on the mission that they forget it's a business.
Right.
And so this is where we do our monthly meetings, and I bring in smarter people than me, Lord, please, not me, to come in and talk kind of, I don't want to say basic, but evergreen business methods and knowledge and share for our audience of small business owners and nonprofits to take advantage of. And so I call them thoughtful leaders because they're help first. And so they'll give their knowledge into our monthly meeting, into our content marketplace for our nonprofits and our small businesses, because I think nonprofits need to treat their business like a business. No mission, no margin, no mission.
Okay, I have to unpack that line a little bit. No margin, no mission. Like,
yeah, it's not my line. I can't remember who I took it from, so I feel terrible. Whoever you are, I told you I was going to take it though. So good. Yeah, no margin, no mission. And it's true for profit and nonprofit. And so I kind of blur the lines between for profit and nonprofit in the second gear group, because good advice, how you deploy your mission is up to you, right? And I talk about the risk and the generosity and the spirit of entrepreneurs, right? The owner I was talking about who's making 60K. I mean, really a lot of the root of my passion for entrepreneurial businesses came from, he and I were looking at the P&L. It was my first time as an adult ever looking at a P&L, by the way, after my first like 6 months of working with him. And I realized at the end of that year, he was going to make the exact same amount of money as I was. And he had been there day in and day out, teaching me how to be good, teaching me how to grow, teaching me about business. And I'm like, you need to be paid more for your effort. And so it doesn't matter if you're a small business owner that's for profit, because the small business owners I meet, and I'm telling you, are not greedy. They're almost, if you talk to them, and I'm sure you talk to enough, Adrian, they talk about their people way before they talk about their profit.
right.
And so no margin, no mission applies to both small business and nonprofit, because a small business is usually their mission is their people and the product and delivering well and creating value. And the value just looks a little different over here for a nonprofit. It's just, impacting their community, but it's still value creation. So if small business owners forget to look at the margin, it doesn't matter what your mission is, it's not going anywhere. And I think that's kind of been pounded into me in many different ways.
Do you ever find with the nonprofit organizations that you're helping, do you ever find that some of the owners and leaders in those places, do you ever receive any pushback? Is there ever any, well, we don't want to run this like a business, we're a charity, we're helping, we don't want to run it like, is there ever that pushback to sort of run it that way?
Yeah, and I think when a nonprofit owner looks at business, they're usually looking at more traditional corporate or enterprise businesses. But I think there's so much more in alignment from a values perspective to those small business owners under 10 million and nonprofits. And so that's kind of where Second Gear Group really lives, is kind of bringing those people into the same orbit so that they can see, oh my gosh, my challenges as a nonprofit look a lot like these small business challenges. They are the same. And so I'm not forcing, management training on them. I'm not forcing. It's like, you have people problems. You have revenue problems. You have process problems. Like nothing changes. And so it's more about kind of helping them, not let down their guard, but come back to, and this is why I had to go find this no margin, no mission line, because most of these nonprofits are sweating, just like the small business owner.
Right.
Trying to deliver more of their mission, but not enough margin to do it. So yes, I think there's pushback globally, but when I actually get them into this ecosystem, I think it starts to go away.
And this is something I guess this might be taking a step backwards a little bit, but
Sure.
we talked a little bit about your inspiration, but I want to talk a little bit about you. Is this something, have you always kind of had this mindset? Have you always kind of had this knack for this ability, this talent to do this and help businesses grow? Or is it something that you cultivated along the way?
I like to say that I got a cheat code. I had some mentors who are really, really special.
Yeah.
I just got lots of speed passes to the future, just because they would tell me when I was dumb, and they would tell me things that I wasn't ready for, but I kind of grew into. So I have a joke that one of my mentors, special shout out to you, Eric, um, who he tells me things and it takes me 3 years to hear it, and I'm like, my whole life goal is to take it down to a year. So I had a lot of help. As far as like knack and whatever, um, I think I just see problems, and then I'm stupid enough to try and think I can solve them. And then I'm also relentless, and I'm obsessive. Like maybe it's ADHD, I don't know, but I just yeah, I won't stop until I solve it. And my wife calls it my nerd is showing or raging curiosity or whatever it is. But so I don't think it's a knack. I think it's just like you grind hard enough, you usually figure it out, or and then a mentor reminds you to not be dumb. So I don't think it's a knack, but I do think I've always had this inclination towards service. And I do think I've always had an inclination of not making more money just to make more money, but making more money to make meaning.
Hmm.
And I think that's a really good avatar for the people who are pulled into the second gear group.
That's another fantastic line that you're just dropping lines. You're just dropping these fantastic one-liners on us.
Well, now you know I kind of got to start with the marketing and sales stuff, because you got to know kind of how I think and kind of what my probably, I don't want to say gift is, but maybe my people experience of me is that I'm a simplifier, and I'm really good at kind of connecting disparate thoughts and kind of human desire to like things that are real. And so yeah, I think there are plenty of people who want to make more money so they can make more meaning and have a bigger impact. So I built something for it because nobody else had done it. So there was a problem I had to solve. So I just grinded my way forward.
Well, and I mean, between next level revenue, between second gear group, everything you're doing, it sounds like everything you're doing is just meant to help people. And through all these, I'm sure you've got a ton of stories of people that you've helped. But I'm wondering, is there one that you might be able to share with us that sticks out in your mind of either a person or a business that you really saw a transformation in as a result of your aid?
I'm gonna
It's a
try.
loaded question. I'm sorry.
No, I'm gonna try and give you two short ones. Um, one of my clients just called me. Basically, he made too much money this year, so he's like, "What do we do with all this?" I'm like, "I got lots of ideas."
What a problem to have.
What a problem.
Right.
So, and that's somebody who's done the really hard work, who's kind of faced what we've been talking about is no margin, no mission, who has evolved out of kind of their comfort place. And I think that's the thing I ask a lot of the people I work with to do is like, we're going to get uncomfortable. So like bring your blanket and popcorn because we're going to start getting comfortable with it. And then on the service side, it's like, I love rallying people to causes, and I love putting things together. And so second gear group, it's still in its infancy. I say this with love. It's still in its infancy, and it deserves more time and attention and energy. But I can kind of paint the picture of what is possible when you start to gather like-minded, values-aligned people who get what we're doing. And so I'm really grateful for the time on your show here to talk about it, because like one example from my past was this fusion of people, fusion of talent, and fusion of opportunity in an extraordinary result. This was at a business I was working at. And so here I'll reveal that business because it is funny, because now next level might make sense and whatever. So I ran a martial arts school for a number of years as the second in command. Yeah. So I went lab, martial arts school, digital marketing. If you can figure me out, you're going to get a Nobel Prize, I think. But the martial arts world is where the small business came in. and I fell in love with serving people and using it as a business, because I was giving the gift of confidence to kids like I had received from martial arts because I'd done it for 30 years. And so this is really where that fusion of people and purpose and profitability and meaning and impact came together. And we had this opportunity dropped in, kind of accidental. We were going to do a fundraiser, and I talked to one of the families. She ended up being a pretty big deal at the Veterans Affairs Hospital nearby, the VA Medical Center. And we're like, oh, we can raise some money to help. And she sent us the little wish list for the VA Medical Center. And I was like going through it, and it was like socks and underwear for homeless veterans. It was like sweatpants and like deal. It was just like, wait, this is the wish list is socks? Like, this is what we got? And I started to I just took her sheet and I started to write some numbers. I'm like, I think we can do all of this. This is a list. I think we can just get it all with the fundraiser. We ended up raising something like 20 grand. The wish list we mathed it out, was only like 8 grand. So we took 5 15-person vans to Target, bought everything, bought them out. It was wild. Drove them out of the VA Medical Center, delivered it, and stocked them for almost a year. They didn't have any more wish lists.
Wow.
It was a really cool story of helping. And Second Gear has that potential. We just gave this really cool grant to this young executive leader to go to the Female Executive Mastermind, which is, I think, where we kind of, our bridges crossed. And that's an opportunity nonprofits usually don't have in their budget, is to send their executives to conferences to help them level up. So I think I know it's in my past. I know it's possible. And I think I've got even stronger, team and people and leaders behind me. So the future is really bright. So you can kind of see where we're going.
That's incredible. That's absolutely incredible. And I'm gonna peel back the curtain a little bit here for our listeners. I'm gonna peel back the curtain. So before our guests come on the show, we like to have them fill out what we call a speaker one sheet, a little fun facts about them. It helps us learn a little bit about them. Mr. Humble, Kyle Mealy himself, mentions nowhere that he studied martial arts for 30 years on this sheet. Just fails to mention that he studied martial arts for 30 years. So what did I have to ask, what'd you study?
So it was like a sport, karate. But what was really fun about it is, and the mentor I had in that space really turned, most people teach the punch, and then people kind of know that karate is good for discipline because of Mr. Miyagi. And so he did the wax on, wax off, which was teaching the discipline. We flipped that script and we really taught discipline using the punching. So we actually put this core life skill sets out in the front. And that was a real gift. So I think of my confidence coming directly from my martial arts experience. And
well,
there you go.
So would you say that discipline has helped you in helping others? Because everything that all of our conversation so far, it's everything that you've told me about yourself, you're helping others in all of your positions. And I mean, would you say that discipline that you learn in martial arts has helped you in your business endeavors?
That's why it's next level. And it's one of the reasons why I love the idea of, and actually Second Gear is a play on next level too. I'll open that door because you opened it for me. It's helping others. I don't know. I don't do it in it's accidental, not intentional. It's just I don't see any other way.
Right.
Of course, yes, this is the work that needs to get done. So we go do the work. And that's what I think I loved about martial arts is there was always another level. I could throw a perfect kick today. It's like golf. The best equivalent is golf, but you miss every, you don't hit it every time. And so I was just kind of obsessive about getting better. And I don't know, the path forward for me has always been about the people around me, right? You can't push through people to get where you want to go. You got to actually bring them with you.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably what you're seeing, but yes, next level is playful on always. There's another level of challenge, right? There's always another belt, another degree of martial arts, black belt. But second gear comes off of a concept that if first gear is where you get traction, anybody who's in the EOS community will know what I'm talking about. Second gear is where you get acceleration. And I've got these incredible, thoughtful leaders who share stuff that you cannot find on the street. And so I'm very, very grateful to them.
Where would you say, we've talked a lot, about this drive to help people and the fact that you're out there helping people the way you are. Where do you think that drive to help others is coming from?
I think if I really am honest with myself, and I'll be a little vulnerable, I don't know who's watching, so watch out, world. I didn't get it until I got to the martial arts world. So so it's funny. I did martial arts all the way up until middle school, and then I stopped doing martial arts. And I had the dark ages between middle school and high school. I didn't do martial arts, and I had that classic middle school, high school experience. Then I got back into martial arts after college, and 2 weeks after starting martial arts again, my confidence was back, and I've never lost it since.
Really?
And so, sure, I did the lab thing. It was a job. It was good. I got paid well. It was good. But it wasn't meaningful, and it didn't move the needle in any part of my soul. And so when I started getting back into martial arts and teaching and helping the owner who I earned my black belt with when I was 9, like there's some bridges here. I started to realize that I could give that gift that I had felt. I'd been to the dark place and come back to the light. I could give it to others, and just seeing them get it, changed me completely. So, I mean, that's my revelation moment, is when other kids weren't going to go through the dark place. And so then it was like, okay, if I can help one, how do I help 10? If I can help 10, how do I help 100? Because there's the next level. So I think it comes from knowing the unhealthy places in this world, and then you can actually go around it. Like, you don't have to go through it. It's work, but you don't have to go through that if you don't want to. So giving everybody the path if they can. If I can, I may not be able to, but I might know who can. And so that's where I love kind of the work I'm doing now, is I get to, like, it's not me, but I know who.
Right. And when you talk about that revelation moment that
Yeah.
was there, I guess, well, there must have been, I suppose, but what was the revelation moment that you had that you needed to start next level? And what was the revelation moment that you needed to start second gear group?
So this one's funny. Oh gosh, man, Adrian, you're good. I'm spilling.
I'm doing my best.
You're good. No. So I had come to the realization that I had stalled out again in my career, in my life, and my ability to impact. And so I was looking for other jobs when I was at the digital marketing agency. And I actually landed in front, and I'm not going to name drop, so I'm going to just like kind of be coy about this just because it's awkward for me. But I will tell you, it is a world famous human being who is a master of communication. And I was in the running to be his second in command, his integrator, his number 2 leader. 200 applicants, somehow mine got to the top of that pile. And it was down to the 2 of us. It was me and another guy. I was meeting with him, his son, his business coach, and it was crazy, the conversations I was getting to have. Like, I mean, most people would know him. And I get to the final interview. And at that point in my life, I had done really well at the martial arts school. I'd done really well in life by just being a truth teller. And I started to be exposed to the side of the business world where you don't tell the truth, and you start to just appease to move up. And I'll just tell you, I was in a really unhealthy headspace as I was knowing it was time to move my career, because I felt this tension, but I couldn't name it. And so I was doing this interview to a guy who could see through me like I was Swiss cheese. And there was a concern that I wasn't strong enough for him to like stand up to him. And so something was said, and I didn't call him out on it. And in my head, I'm like, ooh, something felt off there, but I'm not going to say anything because this is really important to me in this job. And then kind of the interview ended, and I've never known for a fact if that was the issue, but I didn't get the job. And as I kind of replayed it a million times, I said, I wasn't authentic. I didn't tell my truth. And so I'm never, ever going to be in a position where I don't just have to tell my truth. And so that was the day Next Level was born. It took me about a year to put it all together and launch it. And so, especially in the marketing and sales seat, I'm going to be a truth teller. And yeah, it sometimes sucks. I'm going to just tell you how it is.
Right.
And you may get rid of me, but I'll take that all day over anything else. So that was the inspiration there. And the second gear group was, I had started to be able to do this nonprofit work at a business, at the marketing agency. And obviously when I started my own shop, I couldn't. It's like, I'm out of resources. So I just literally I was like, I can't stop this work. So I'm going to figure out a way. So I just literally called all my friends and said, hey, can you come along for this crazy ride with me? And a lot of people said yes. So they've been kind of attached to the hip since then. But the real genesis was we work and serve in this community around the US world. and there's gaps in, you know, how you solve the people problem, how you solve the process problem, how you solve the vision problem, how you solve the marketing and sales problem. And I just knew that these people had answers and they couldn't get enough space on their own. So this was a space to create a platform for them to lead from. And then also pool our resources, because individual businesses, small businesses usually can't afford to do some major impacts on nonprofits. So by pooling our resources, I knew we could get back to the work I wanted to get done, back to the grinder. I'll just figure it out. I'll just keep running. So inspiration was, I knew there was a better way to help.
That's awesome. Well, Kyle, this has been an absolutely awesome discussion. Thank you so much. If any of the listeners out there could use the services of Next Level Revenue or Second Gear Group, how can the listeners find you?
Definitely just reach out to me on LinkedIn, and then I'll just kind of sort you where you need to go from there. Otherwise, the secondgeargroup.com. If you're a nonprofit, membership is free. Like, you just come join the monthly meetings. You get access to the content marketplace, the Slack. There's no reason not to. And every minute you delay on solving the mission and margin question, you're not helping those you want to help. So, like, make the discipline to attend our monthly 45-minute meeting. If you need help with revenue generation, my website is readyforthenextlevel.com, because you're ready for it now.
Awesome. Well, Kyle, thank you so much for joining us today. This has been Partnerships for Profit presented by Leduc Entertainment. Kyle, thank you so much again.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Adrian.
And thanks everyone for listening.